Today I am very honored to have Paul Mathews, who runs our Ingressotek division. Paul, welcome to the Security Equation.
Thanks for having me.
You'll hear me refer to him as Glide because that's the nickname I gave him 6 years ago or so. And so I was literally going to text you and Brad and others this morning, and I put Glide into my text message, and nothing came up. So, look, you and I we've worked together for quite a while. Let's go back though. How did you get into the security industry? Did you grow up thinking I want to be in the events industry, and then you end up in security, or how did you get here?
Yeah, so I grew up wanting to be in the sports industry. And that's where I started at Madison Square Garden, and it kind of evolved into the security side as I was there. So spent 13 years there, various number of positions, worked my way up the ladder, left the Garden, worked for a staffing company for 2 years, which was a very valuable experience for me. There's a lot that I learned there that I still apply today.
Yep.
So that was a great stepping stone. Then we moved on to T&M, which was also another great experience. Yep. And then COVID hit, as we all know. And then here we are with Ingressotek 6 years later.
So go back to your Garden days. I mean, Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena, at least, maybe venue in the world. An unbelievable calendar of events that you guys would do yearly. Just highlight, give us a best and a worst moment of your 13 years at the Garden.
Man. Best moment? That's a tough one. There's a few. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame concert's a pretty memorable one. Every artist under the sun was there. I'm proud to say I spent about 10, 15 minutes with Paul McCartney on my own, just him and I and one other person. That was kind of cool. Those stand out. Worst moment? There's a few. I'd say losing the perimeter at the loading dock and having a number of folks breach the perimeter. We had to bring police in. There was folks fighting with police.
What was the event?
That wasn't a good night. It was an ASAP Rocky benefit show for his cousin who passed away, and everybody and their mother showed up, and none of them belonged there, and it got pretty ugly for a while, but we were able to regain control without them getting inside the building. But it was close.
It's interesting that you bring that up because it's in the news right now when Jay-Z was at Yankee Stadium, right? The ability to control a perimeter is the utmost importance in the work we all do. Mm-hmm. And that rang your bell as one of those bad nights.
Yeah, well, Jay-Z, they got into the building. In this incident, they didn't get inside the building. They got inside our perimeter, inside the loading dock, and then the rolling door was actually up, and we got it down in time before anybody could physically get inside the building. So they were still outside, but just inside the perimeter. But very similar situation. Yeah. Crowd control type situation where you just get overwhelmed.
Well, the good thing is at the Garden, if you breach the perimeter and get to the loading dock, you have no idea where you are or where the floor is or how to get to the next spot. So
that's for sure.
You got some time to recover there.
People forget, the Madison Square Garden, the arena floor is on the 5th floor of a 10-story building.
It's amazing.
And there's a 5,600-person theater on the 3rd floor below the arena floor.
I don't know of another building in the world
where
the event floor is 5 stories off the street. It's crazy. But you did some marquee events. You had the Pope visit. Mm-hmm. You had Stanley Cup finals?
Finals, yep.
You made it
finals and Eastern Conference finals.
Yeah. And I know you were a big hockey fan. They were your team. Yep. I mean, they were your assignment in your role at the Garden. What was most memorable, hockey or a Pope visit?
That's a great question. I'd say hockey, just because of how long the playoffs go. People forget when you make a playoff run like that, you're going from it's 2 months long.
Yeah.
It's from early mid-April to early mid-June, and they got really close. They lost in the finals. It was very memorable. With the Pope visit, I mean, that was a memorable one too. But as you know, Secret Service takes it over.
Right.
I mean, there's two things I remember from that event. One was the line for 10 blocks waiting to get in. Thank God it was a nice day that day. And two was when one of the ushers sent the crowd the wrong way for communion, when we had to do communion for 20,000 people and they all have to go in a certain direction. And when you send them the wrong way, it messes up the entire plan. And I remember sprinting down the concourse to go fix it, and we got it adjusted. But those are the two that stick out from that one.
I'm going to touch on two things from that. The Secret Service part, it's a whole different experience. Right, and you experienced it. We just had the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the retake on Friday night. Yeah, I was involved in Mercedes-Benz Stadium when the president visited for the College Football National Championship. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different experience. And when the Secret Service comes in to do screening, it's the attendee experience. They could care less. That's not the business you're in today. Elaborate a little bit on the difference.
Yeah, I mean, when the Secret Service is there, like you said, there's the thought of attendee experience is not even a thought. It's about safety and security and making sure everybody's screened properly, access control, things like that, with honestly no regard for anything else. In our world, you got to find that balance, right? Everything now is about the attendee experience. There's a lot of competition for the entertainment dollar, right? If folks are coming to your events, regardless of what type of event it is, it could be a conference, could be a sporting event, concert. If they don't have a good attendee experience, they're not going to want to come back. So it's our job to balance that with safety and security.
Yeah. So about 6 years ago, we were doing a rollout at Clemson, and that evening at dinner prior to the game, we'd gotten to talking about this particular business. We had no idea what we were going to call it or anything, and I think it was kind of how you handled the setup day of creating new perimeter for a college football stadium that they didn't have a lot of forethought into how they're going to do this, and there was a lot of winging it that day to get this thing set up and roll out walk-through metal detectors for the first time at this particular stadium with a lot of different challenges. Something struck me that evening at dinner that you were the guy, and I told you, we're going to start a rental division, you're going to run it.
Yeah, I remember it vividly, and when you said that to me, I knew I was all in. I didn't know what I was all in for. I just knew I was all in, and it was, just looking back on that, I didn't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Right. I took my prior experience and just applied it, and, there's a little bit of winging it. There's there's a lot of decision making and some risk taking, and here we are 6 years later. Fantastic.
6 years later, and I think through 2 quarters this year, your team has delivered at, I don't know the number. Do you know the number of events? I know I've got them handy, but it's probably a couple hundred events already this year.
Yep. I don't know the exact number, but yeah, I'd say probably 150 maybe by this point.
Yep. It's around the world, honestly. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest challenge in what Ingressotek is doing today when you're at different events and you're setting up screening from anything from a 2-lane, 2 open gates or a dual evolve, single setup at a small event through, an NVIDIA, or you just got back from Cheyenne for the Frontier Days, a Dreamforce. What have you learned? What are the challenges, and what are you most proud of in what you've developed in 6 years?
Yeah, challenges. There's a number of challenges, but the the planning and getting all the information that we need. A lot of times we're under a time crunch, and just trying to get all the information to have everything perfect before we get on site is not always the case. So we do have to rely a lot on our experience, intuition, things like that, in order to get the job done. Those are probably the biggest challenges. And then as far as what I'm most proud of, I mean, I think it's what we've built, right? It's the team, it's the business, it's the events that the caliber of events that we're doing, our clients. I mean, if you would have told me this 6 years ago, I couldn't have dreamed it. And I'm very proud of it. And it's not just me; it's the entire team.
But what's the differentiator at Ingressotek?
Our people.
Why?
Experience. Brad and I were talking about this earlier. I have a saying: there's no substitute for experience. You can't duplicate it, no matter what you do. And we have some experienced people, and we have some younger folks that we've trained up and who've gained valuable experience, and that's our differentiator. It's our people who can look at a problem and a light bulb goes off and they can say, I've dealt with this kind of thing before. I know how to fix it, and that's what they do.
And we purposely went out and got event operators and trained them on the technology. Mm-hmm. So that they could do exactly that, right? And I think that's been a huge part of Ingressotek's success is the type of people that we've been able to add to the team and go out and deploy the technology. How are you finding the right people? What are you doing these days to get the right people and the right technologies at the particular events?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that experience. Passion, work ethic, people who are willing to put the time in and learn. We talk about it all the time, operationalizing the technology. Right. And I say it to our clients all the time. You can put whatever you want out there. If it's not being done properly, it's a waste. It's a big paperweight. It's not going to work properly, and bad things are going to happen.
Right.
And as far as the technology is concerned, I mean, it goes back to that attendee experience. It's, fast-paced, high throughput. I mean, those are the kind of things that we're looking for. There is some competition out there with different technologies. There's a lot of folks who, think that they're better than the next one. And, I take a lot of pride in doing our homework. Yep. So, we know to take on the best technology and deploy it.
Right. Yeah, technology is only as good as the people that are out there operating it. What's new? What's coming down the pipeline for Ingressotek? Anything you're looking forward to as far as technology? Anything new coming out?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition out there now for X-ray systems. I've spent a lot of time researching that. So, that's one. We talked about drones in the past. That's a big thing in the event industry now, where it's, they're hard to stop them, right? Yep. There's only so much you can do, even when you can detect it.
Right.
Facial authentication, facial recognition is another one. Vehicle barriers, right. I think, is a big one. Just, what was it, yesterday or the day before, the attack in Berlin. I think vehicle barriers is right at the top of the list.
Right, protecting that perimeter.
Yeah.
Vehicle as a weapon is, it's been a constant risk. It's such a low barrier to entry for someone that has the desire to do something terrible. And you're right, there was just another one this weekend. So, like, building that overall perimeter solution is really where you see Ingressotek going.
Yes.
What I asked you about your kind of best and worst experiences when you're at the Garden. 6 years in at Ingressotek. What's your best experience? Let's start there.
My best experience in 6 years. That's a good one. I mean, we just completed FIFA, the World Cup. I think that event and the dynamics of that event, and the lift that we had under the time frame that we had, and how we delivered under the circumstances that we were in, is probably our biggest accomplishment to date.
Tell a little bit more about that. What did your team actually do for FIFA?
Yeah, so we handled screening, weapons detection screening for 60 training sites and 4 stadiums, all throughout the U.S. and Canada, over the entire run. We put a plan in place in the beginning where we had our managers assigned to certain regions. We had one person in charge on our team who was the central point of communication, which was key. In the beginning, it was just emails of people of 60 different sites flying everywhere. I said, whoa, we got to get our arms around this. So we established that central point of communication. And we had folks behind the scenes handling all of the documentation and financials and all of the changes every day with the dynamics of the tournament. That was probably the most difficult part. The part of the tournament where where it gets down to 32 teams, or then it goes to 16, and all the changes involved there. The middle part was the most difficult.
How many total units and staff did you deploy?
Yeah, so we had 139 open gates deployed throughout. Staff, we had 80 operations managers at all the various sites. The number of screening days was 825, give or take. It's probably a little more after all the changes. The next stat I'm going to get you is the total shipments, because the shipping and logistics behind that project is beyond anything I've ever seen before. But just a great project overall for us.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you guys pulled off for that event, and the timeline to do it, and the number of people, the amount of equipment, and pulling the whole plan together. Amazing. All right, give me your worst day at Ingressotek.
Wow. My worst day at Ingressotek. They're all good days at Ingressotek. No, I mean, there've been a few hard ones. I mean, I go right back to the beginning, like our first 2 events, back-to-back golf tournaments, where, Chance and I worked from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. the next day. And that's what we had to do. And we did it, and we got through it. That was very difficult. Just recently, one that stands out at the beginning of the FIFA assignment, having to fly to a warehouse in Cleveland last minute to sort through 139 open gates in a dusty warehouse until midnight. It's what had to be done, and we did it, and here we are today.
That's awesome. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It's truly amazing the work that your team is doing and what you're deploying. The FIFA story is fantastic. I appreciate you. I want to make sure that people know how to reach out if they want to get in touch with you, or they want to do any work with Ingressotek.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always our website, ingressotek.com. My email, pmathews, P-M-A-T-H, 1 T in Matthews, P-M-A-T-H-E-W-S, at ingressotek.com, or you can always call my cell phone. It's on 24/7.
Which is on the website still.
I think it's off now, but I'll put it here for anybody who wants it. 917-412-6359.
Give Paul a call. He'll make sure all of your events are secure. I really appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.